Fellas, how in the hell are we doing here today? Team-ups are a game-changing addition to Marvel Rivals that can completely change the outcome of a match if utilized correctly. These are extra buffs or abilities you can gain just by pairing up with another specific hero, and if you aren't trying to use them when building a team, you're immediately going into the game at a disadvantage. This is going to be real simple. We're not going to waste any time here. This is a video all about the team-ups in Marvel Rivals. The best, the worst, and the alright. Then at the end too, I'll also try to give you some tips on how to counter all of these team-ups, if that's something you're interested in. I do want to say before starting this that I'm in the practice range with cooldowns turned off so I can showcase the abilities a bit better. So in a real game, you can't actually spam any of these abilities like I'm doing here. You probably already know that. Also, this video is comprised of information I have gathered online as well as my own personal opinion from playing the game for over 300 hours. So with that all out of the way, let's just jump straight into it with the best team-ups in Marvel Rivals. Kicking things off here, we have to talk about Rocket, Punisher, Bucky. With the new Season 1 update, this is easily one of, if not the best team-up in the game right now. Rocket already got a buff in his heal percentage from the Season 1 update, and he gains an extra buff by teaming up with Punisher or Bucky. And for the duelists, they get an insane damage buff, faster rate of fire, and infinite ammo if they stand in this little AoE circle that Rocket puts down. That also cannot be destroyed at all. Even if Rocket dies, that thing will stay on the ground there forever. And if Punisher and Bucky just stay in it, they are shredding things. Next up, we got Thor, Storm, and Captain America. And this team up's really good now in Season 1 since everyone in the team got a buff. And Storm seems to be one of, if not the best duelists now with her buff. I mean, she's got the highest win rate for sure, and she's running lobbies and ranked. For this team up, Storm gets an extra chain lightning ability that bounces off enemy players, and then Captain America can do like electric damage with his shield and melee attacks, I'm pretty sure. And then Thor, kind of the odd man out, he just gets the HP buff, think like 150 points of HP, which definitely is nice, but it's not an extra ability. Next up, we got Hulk, Strange, Iron Man. This is a team up that completely took over Season 0 as the top meta with the highest win rate, and it's still pretty solid in Season 1, even though Iron Man might not be getting as much play. But in this team up, Hulk buffs Iron Man's Unibeam and Doctor Strange's Maelstrom of Madness, which significantly increases the damage of both of them. And then Hulk also receives a 150 point HP boost. Besides just the abilities and HP though, what also makes this team up specifically really good is just the synergy between this comp. If you have a good Iron Man, that's a really strong duelist, and then you also have one tank that can be diving the backline being annoying, and then you have one that's more defensively with the shield like Strange, kind of just holding down your team's position, whatever's going on. It's a really good comp. Like, compare it to the Thor, Storm, Captain America. Thor and Captain America both kind of do the same like dive tank role. Like, you don't really have somebody making up for like protecting your team like with the Hulk, Strange. But we're moving on, enough of that. Next up, we got Adam, Mantis, Star-Lord. This was a team up that was also really strong in Season 0 and didn't receive really any sort of buff, so it's still going hard Season 1. Adam gets a heal buff, and then Mantis and Star-Lord, a strategist and a duelist, 2/3 of the team, are able to get back into the fight a million times quicker with this little cocoon res thing, which makes a worlds of difference. It does have a pretty big timer, but if you have a Mantis and Star-Lord that are able to play their lives and stay alive for a while anyways, it doesn't really make that big of a deal. Sticking with that res idea, the next team up, we got Hela, Loki, Thor. If Thor or Loki are dead and Hela gets a kill, she's able to immediately res them right on the spot with no cooldown at all. Say they like immediately die again, she gets killed, boom, res them on the spot. But even if they aren't dead, anytime Hela gets a kill, they'll just receive bonus health. I mean, it is insane, the synergy that team has able to keep themselves alive. And it's got one of each role. You got a duelist, support, and a tank. Hela's easily one of the best duelists in the game. She gets banned from like 90% of lobbies, but if she does happen to make it through and you're not running this, you're crazy, because it is insane. Next up, we got Cloak and Dagger and Moon Knight. I was originally going to have this in the alright category, but the more I thought about it, they're both incredibly strong, incredibly meta characters right now, and they got a ton of play in comp when other people start getting banned. For this, Moon Knight gains a Shadow Veil ability where he places a circle on the ground and he's invisible anywhere he's walking in that circle. and then Dagger gets a 15% heal boost. Last but not least, for the best category here, we have Luna, Namor, Jeff. Both Luna and Namor are already pretty like strong A to S tier heroes as is, and this team up just makes them a million times better. Namor gets a whole extra squid that deals frost damage, and Luna gets like an extra 15% heal buff, which is insane. And Jeff actually turns his little like water spitballs into icicles, which kind of freezes people, slows them down. It's like a big little AoE thing he puts down. Not the biggest deal, but like I said, you'll mainly see this as Luna and Namor. And they both get a lot of competitive play too. People use Namor a lot. Luna gets banned a little bit, but if she's not banned, she gets used a lot too. Alright, now we're gonna move on to the alright team ups. Starting off with Scarlet and Magneto. I felt like this was a lot stronger in the beta, but this team up is still pretty insane right now. It just doesn't get as much use. Scarlet boosts Magneto's greatsword to a pretty insane degree, and Scarlet gets about a 10% damage boost herself. If Scarlet were a better DPS hero, then this would probably be in the best category, but I feel like she just holds it back a little bit. Still a solid win rate though. Next up we got Venom, Penny, and Spider-Man. For this, Venom gives Spider-Man and Penny a whole extra symbiote ability that deals damage, knocks enemies back, and gives them damage reduction while in it. I'd say this helps out Spider-Man the most because he's really not the best character, and that ability helps him secure kills a bit easier. But you're really not going to be running into many Spider-Men because everyone else is just so much better. The people that are playing them are just honestly the die-hard, tried and true fans like our friend B Wood. Venom and Penny are at least a solid tank team up, having someone who can dive and hold a position, so you'll see that a good bit though. Next up we got Iron Fist and Luna Snow. Luna gains an extra radial ability that heals teammates, or if there's enemies, it pushes them back and deals damage. Iron Fist also receives a 15% damage boost. This team up is actually huge for Luna Snow. The extra ability is really good, but Iron Fist just kind of holds this back. He's not really the best dive hero, so there's not many people that really want to play him unless they're just straight up super fans. And he doesn't have the best pick weight or win rate. Next up we got Squirrel Girl and Spider-Man. For this team up, Squirrel Girl gains an extra ability that deals damage and immobilizes enemies, and Spider-Man gets a 10% damage boost. This team up isn't as big of a deal for Spider-Man, and like I said earlier, you're probably not going to run into many of them anyways, but Squirrel Girl actually benefits quite a bit from the extra attack, and it makes her even better if you can actually find a Spider-Man to run this with. Next up we got Sue and Reed. These are the new characters. You know they have to be cracked in their opening season, and they have a really strong win rate right now. Reed's pretty much just a mini tank that masquerades as a duelist, and from this team up he gains a 50 HP shield, and then Sue gets a 15% heal bonus. The shield boost for Reed is on a time limit, and for someone who can already work their way up to 900 plus HP, it doesn't really make the biggest difference, but they're still insane. If anything, I think Sue actually benefits from this one a bit more because she's slightly lackluster when it comes to the heals compared to a Luna or Cloak and Dagger, but both of these characters are still really strong and they're doing really good right now. And last but not least, for the alrights, we have Magic, Black Panther, Psylocke. Now this team up actually has a really strong win rate, but personally, I feel like you just don't want this many of the same duelist character on a team. Like, all of these heroes kind of fill the exact same role, and I don't think you want 2 or even 3 dive DPS heroes on your team at a time. I think you only want 1, so you're not really going to be using this a whole lot. This team up gives Black Panther and Psylocke an extra dash ability that teleports them back to a previous position, and Magic gets a 15% damage boost. I mean, it's obviously working really well for some people out there. I originally had this in the worst category until I saw the win rate, but it moved its way up to alright. I'll at least put it in alright, but I just don't think it's one of the best. Alright, moving on to the worst, kicking things off, we have Groot, Rocket, Jeff. This gives Rocket and Jeff the ability to ride on Groot's shoulders for damage reduction, and it gives Groot the typical tank plus 150 max HP. This team up isn't very useful at all because you don't really want your healers to be that far pushed up into the fight. And also, Rocket and Jeff have a way better survivability just on their own, staying off the shoulders and maneuvering around the map. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to kill a Lord Jeff where he's just jumping up, grab a bubble, go back under, jump up, grab a bubble, go under, or you see a Lord Rocket Raccoon scurrying across the walls. I mean, it is pointless for them to be on Groot's shoulders. pointless. Next up, we got Hawkeye Black Widow. Now this is actually pretty cracked for Black Widow because it lets her use Hawkeye's ultimate like every 30 seconds, which is actually pretty nutty, and then Hawkeye himself gets a damage boost. But this is another case of the team up partners filling the exact same role, so you're never really going to want to have both of them on your team at a time. You'd only really want to have one if you were even running it. And then last but not least, we have Hulk and Wolverine. For this team up, Hulk is able to throw Wolverine at the enemies, and he also gets the plus 150 HP boost. This honestly just seems more comical than anything. Wolverine already has a dash attack that does the exact same thing, and there's no real benefit to doing this. It's not like you get extra damage from getting thrown by Hulk or something. I guess the only thing you could say is like it counts as an extra dash, so you like can save the real one, but it just seems pointless. It feels like you don't really get any sort of like game-changing use out of it. So that is that, folks. That's what I think about these team ups. Best, alright to worst. Just to recap things here too, I'm going to throw up like a little tier list type picture on the screen, just like grouping them all up so you can kind of get a better visual or whatever. But now we're going to switch gears here and we're going to move into the counters for all these. I'm going to try to just go over like some specific heroes or specific like things you can do to counter all these special abilities from the team ups. We're probably just going to start back at the top again from like the best and then just work our way down. So starting at Hulk, Strange, Iron Man, pretty much any 2-tank team up, you're going to want a Wolverine because he is the tank killer in Marvel Rivals, because his damage is based off of total HP percentage. Then for Iron Man, you want someone like Namor, Punisher, Bucky, Star-Lord, or pretty much anybody that shoots some sort of projectile could take care of him pretty quick. Next for Thor, Storm, Captain America, this is pretty much the same comp as the last one and the same rules apply. Wolverine to kill the tanks, and shooter heroes to deal with the flying storm. For Adam, Mantis, and Star-Lord, this one is a little different because 2/3 of the team up are support characters, and you don't really have to direct counter supports other than the ultimates. For the Adam Warlock reses, you don't want to let them freely leave a fight in their cocoon stage, you want to force them to go all the way back to respawn. This might seem kind of hard when there's a million other things going on and you have more people to fight off, but that's really the only way you can stop this. You just can't give them a free chance to get the res off. For Rocket, Punisher, and Bucky, this one, I don't really even know if there is a counter. Like I mentioned earlier, that amplifier that Rocket throws down stays there no matter what. It can't be destroyed, there's no sort of health bar, it's solely based on a time limit. So it kind of feels like there's no definitive counter to this other than like focusing Punisher or Bucky, or just waiting them out, but that just burns precious time. This one for real just might be the best team up in the game right now. Like I genuinely don't know how to stop it. You just gotta wait it out. Next up for Luna, Namor, Jeff. Like I mentioned earlier, most of the time you see this, it's gonna be Luna and Namor. And the best counter for Namor, in my opinion, is gonna be Moon Knight, because his primary attacks can bounce off the Namor turrets and completely melt them away. For Luna, you pretty much just have to catch her without her snowball, and she should be a free kill unless she's getting pocketed, you're bad, or they're insane. For Hela, Thor, Loki, this is another one where you can't really counter the res Hela does, besides just taking Hela out herself. For that, I'd say you probably want to use any sort of dive duelist like a Black Panther or Psylocke that can just get quick up in her face where she probably won't be able to hit her shots as well. But yeah, just take out Hela, then she can't res a third of the team, and everybody's cool. Next up for Venom, Spider-Man, Penny, since 2/3 of this comp are dive heavy characters, you want somebody like Namor or Loki with their turrets so they can provide extra damage in the backline if somebody's getting jumped, or even a Penny yourself because her traps can be great for protecting the backline or the team's position. In terms of actually countering Penny, you just gotta shoot those traps any chance you get. You can't just let that thing live on the map because it does insane damage and will wreck your team if you try playing around it. Next for Iron Fist and Luna Snow, this is the team up where Luna gains the extra circle, heal, and knockback. And typically, if Luna's getting like jumped or something by a DPS character, she'll use that and it kind of like scares them off. It'll make them run away. But if you just keep in mind that she only really has that and her snowball to like protect her, you're able to get in there and finish the kill off. Like maybe try to bait her out, kind of dash past her real quick, try to bait it out real quick before you actually go in for the kill. Next for the Squirrel Girl and Spider-Man team up, I'd really just say you have to try to like run a tank with a shield like Strange, Cap, or Magneto to like block the squirrel nut things coming in. Sometimes she's able to eat through a shield pretty quick, but if you're timing it right, you should be able to block most of the immobilizing effects coming at you, which will be huge. Next for Cloak and Dagger and Moon Knight, for the team up ability specifically, the circle where he has invis isn't really that big, so he doesn't have much space to play around it, and it doesn't even really last all that long. He also still takes damage in the circle, so if you have any sort of hero that deals AoE damage, they can kind of push him out of the area. Next for Sue and Reed. Reed is a duelist, but everyone thinks of him as a mini tank because of how much shield he gets from the inflated state, and whenever HP is the problem, Wolverine is your guy. For Magic Panther Psylocke, as we already mentioned, these are all dive DPS characters that want to live in your backline, so people like Namor, Loki, Penny, or really anybody that can throw down defensive support, like even like a Punisher turret, that's going to be your best bet. Next for Groot, Rocket, and Jeff, I mean, there's no real way to counter the supports getting on Groot's shoulders because you can't just like take them off, you know? But most of the time, they're not even gonna want to play up there anyways. For Groot, I'd say a good counter for him is Squirrel Girl because her nuts completely destroy Groot's walls. And for Rocket and Jeff, these two are extremely slippery and can get out of fights pretty easy. But if you have a good dive character like Psylocke or Black Panther, they can chase them down, and that's probably your best bet. For Hawkeye and Black Widow, this one is actually really simple. They both share the little after image ultimate where it's easier to hit people, but if everybody just kind of kites back and doesn't challenge, you should be okay. Or if you have any sort of support ult on the team, like a Luna, Cloak, or Mantis, that should also be able to save you. And finally, for Hulk and Wolverine, I mean, just don't get hit, dog. I don't know. Seriously though, if you have any sort of shield tank, I think they can block the lunge. You just have to be careful playing tank into a Wolverine. I'd recommend only using like one mag since he can kind of save himself with his little protective bubble. And with that being said, folks, I think that's all the team ups right there. That's all the countering ideas or tips I could really think up. And I think that's about it for this video. Like I said at the beginning, and like hopefully you saw throughout the video, this was some information I got online, and then some of it was just my personal opinion on what I think is really strong playing with or playing against. Maybe you agreed with that, maybe you didn't. Whatever happened, thanks for watching this video. If there's any changes you would have made to the best, alright, or worst lists, or if there's any tips you have on how to counter some of these team ups, definitely leave it in the comments down below because I'm not the only one that would benefit from that. I'm sure there's other people that'd like to hear that too. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been posting a lot of Marvel Rivals content lately, and it's not going to stop here. So, hope you've been enjoying, appreciate your time. This has been Lunar, and welcome to Bound.